In this episode of Motive Garage presented by Sparesbox, we're tuning our Subaru BRZ. Now we all know that making extra power from a tune in a turbocharged car is generally pretty easy, and it's a lot harder to do with a naturally aspirated car. Now, tuning software with ECUTEK has been around in the Toyota 86 and Subaru BRZ twins for a long time now, and it's a pretty proven thing of how much power you're going to make at various different levels of modification, from exhaust and the 85 and all that sort of stuff. But we're curious to see, what does the new 2.4 litre do with a little bit of tuning? We saw that it makes plenty more power and torque out of the box, and we did see with our baseline stuff that the factory tune is a lot better than the old car. So we're curious to see if a tune would make any difference. Now, obviously, we've already done the full SME headers, overpipe and exhaust system, so we're hoping that a tune can help get out even more grunt again thanks to those modifications. So we're off to PVS Performance Tuning to see Tyler, who is an 86 and BRZ specialist. He's been tuning them for years. We're going to do some baseline runs again. We'll get some ECUTEK software into the car and see much power it makes. Let's go.
So software came available, I'm pretty sure it was sort of early December, late November, early December. It took ages for us to get it, and we were chomping at the bit to get our car done. The reason being is, look, they have got a lot of changes. I think a lot of things are, it's all CAN bus, but they've got a lot of extra things now. I've been scrolling through the maps in there that some of them aren't really identified. There's a lot more stuff in it, essentially, but the basic stuff is very similar. So I think how they do flex fuel is going to be a little different. But overall, I think there was a lot more stuff that they just had to reverse engineer, and I think the computers are slightly different, so it just takes that time. The first one took a year before, or pretty close to a year before they got software as well. So yeah, it's just one of those things. You can buy off-the-shelf tunes. I don't, because I find that most of the time you're doing better yourself. The platform is very, very similar. The biggest thing for me was injector crossovers and stuff when you're turboing them or putting bigger injectors in, but the basic platform was very similar. The engines, thankfully, have responded very similarly. So as far as if you got your head around it, it's actually quite a reasonably straightforward transition. So it's just us getting to know how hard we can push them. But I've pushed my thing reasonably hard without putting a turbo on it just yet. But I'm pretty sure so for me, the software is actually pretty good and the car responds very similarly. Between the dead stock one, yeah, what you're saying, I found around that sort of 8 to 10, depending on the day. As far as top end power. The mid-range torque, being that the exhaust is standard, you don't pick up an awful lot there, but what you can do is get your fuel numbers a lot nicer. It's a little bit of everything, a little bit of cam timing, a little bit of ignition time, a little bit of fueling, and it just makes a better number at the top end. Bigger difference is when you bolt the headers on, you free everything up. You can play around with the timing a bit more, get a bit adventurous there, and the cam timing and stuff, everything you can just sort of play around with it, and it just responds a little bit nicer. But the biggest gain is just getting the headers on there. But as you saw today, we're able to pull out roughly another 10 to 15 with the tune on top of the headers, which was actually, blew me away. I didn't think it'd quite make that much, but no, really good. They respond really well. You're not going to notice a huge amount down low like you did with the previous version with the unequal length headers and stuff. You noticed a lot more down low because they had such a big torque dip. The manufacturer have done a pretty good job this time overall, so it's made my job a little harder to try and get power out of it. But you will notice it from around sort of between 4.5 to 7, it'll just sing. And then when we've done some E85 testing and it just sings harder, breaks classes, so it's really good. But as far as putting a turbo kit on it, I'm just keen to just get one on it and try it. I think can find all the dangerous spots in the software to stay away from and modify. So we're going to try and get one on it, honestly, probably in the next month. We've already done a prototype install as far as fitment wise, and now it's just a matter of having a crack, and then I'll have a bit of a go on 98 and E85 and see how we go.
So an extra 13 kilowatts peak power with around 10 to 15 kilowatts in gains above 4,500 RPM, I think is pretty impressive for a naturally aspirated car. In terms of power percentage increase, it's pretty good. Now, did I notice it driving it back to the shop from the dyno? Down low, no. As expected, no difference that you could tell. If you rev it all the way to redline, you can definitely tell the difference if you know your car well. If you drove a dead stock one and then drove on with an exhaust and tune, you would definitely notice the difference. Me personally, I think if you're going to get exhaust and tune, just think about the combined result of them, not one or the other. We did talk to Tyler about going on to E85 in the future, and he saw as much as 176 kilowatts on E85. That's as much as a 27 kilowatt increase over stock. That you would definitely feel. Talking about the improvement in lap times, Tyler said that a novice driver could see 2 seconds a lap quicker at Sydney Motorsport Park, which obviously is a track that requires big power. So overall, is tuning your Subaru BRZ and Toyota 86 worth it with an exhaust? 100%. You should definitely do it.